So it's the end of the school year and you're almost finished all of your homeschool curriculum, and now you're thinking, what do I do now? Well, in today's video, I'm going to show you how to wrap up your school year and prepare for a successful new school year. Hey guys, it's Vani from Mrs. Mom's Homeschool, and welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about wrapping up your homeschool year, setting up your evaluations, creating your portfolios, and setting things up in your classroom for a successful new school year come this August or whenever it is you decide to start school again. And I want to give you 7 tips on things that you can do. So the first thing I want you to think about is, what does it mean for your child to be finished school for the year? Will you level them up once their language arts and math curriculums are completed? Will you level them up or end your school year when you have done 180 days of school? This is a very personal decision and every family does it different. Some families homeschool year round and they never really take a break. So that's another thing we're going to talk about later. But first you want to decide what it means for you to end off one homeschool year before you start the next. So for us personally, once my kids are done their language arts, they can move, and math, they can move on to the next grade level. Normally I like to finish up the majority of all of our curriculum and whatever it is we're doing. If we're doing a specific science unit, we'd like to finish that. If we're doing history, we'd like to end it. I like to end everything or wrap everything up before I say, okay, we're done for the homeschool year and you get to move on. So what we're doing this year is, when my kids finish their language arts, that technically to me means that they moved up, but they're both in the middle of their maths. And the maths are a larger age range. My preschooler's doing kindergarten math, so we could just stop whenever. And then my son's math is at his level 3, but it's for ages 9 and 10, and he just turned 9. So we're going to continue it, since we started in the middle of the school year, for the next school year as well. Second thing you need to think about are your homeschool evaluations. Most people end their school year around the time where they're due for their homeschool evaluations. Every state is different, but you definitely want to know which date from the previous year that you did your evaluations, because they need to be completed before that due date or by that due date. So make sure you check with your evaluator or your records to find out when your evaluations are due. Make sure you schedule those with advance notice. And I like to schedule my evaluations once my kids are done language arts and math, so that if they are doing testing, they can get an accurate assessment of their skills. Because if I remember one year I did an evaluation, my daughter was still not finished her math, so she scored lower than she should have, because the week after she did her evaluations, she ended up learning the things that were on the evaluations that she hadn't learned. So I like to wrap up our subjects, our core subjects, if I'm doing testing, before we do our evaluations. So another thing to think about is, what kind of evaluations will you do? Will you do a formal test? Some states require standardized testing. Here in Florida, we do not, but we do have the option to do a test like the Peabody or the RATS exam, or there's different kinds of exams that we can do that allow you to see what grade level, if that matters to you, your children are in, to see if you're doing a good job, or make sure your kids are, picking up what they need to learn. And if it's not important to you, then you can do a portfolio evaluation, and where you just put together their work and you submit that to the evaluator. Which brings me to number 3, your portfolio. I think that whether or not you do portfolio evaluations or not, I think every year you should create one for your records, where you have a sample of all of their work and all of their subjects. You can put pictures in there, you can put books that they've read, you can put field trip journaling in there, you can put anything that documents how your school year went. It's a great way to remember how the school year went. If you have older children, and if you've ever looked back at when their schoolwork when they were younger, it's really neat to see what they accomplished at that time. And for me, it helps looking at my 2 older kids' works when they were at a certain grade, if I'm working and doing enough or too much for my youngest child in comparison. So it's nice to see that, and some states require that you have records for 2 years before you get rid of them. So a homeschool portfolio would be a great idea, whether or not you're required to have one. The next thing you need to think about is decluttering your classroom. So if you want to prepare for the next homeschool year, it's really important that you take out all the books that your kids are not going to read for the next year, take out all the curriculum that they're already done using. Consider selling any curriculum you're not going to use anymore, or donate it to somebody who would take it. I know that there's a lot of groups on Facebook where you can sell or trade in your used curriculum. Another thing is to just pull out all the books that they will be using. Are you doing different unit studies? Do you have stored books that are for older grades that haven't been used this year but need to be used next year? Start pulling out and like replacing things that you're going to need for the next year that you don't need anymore from the previous year, because then you'll be saving your classroom a lot of space and a lot of clutter. Take inventory of all the supplies that you need: pencils, paper, crayons, markers. And the fun part is to go shopping and make sure you go ahead and get your notebooks, your journal notebooks, like whatever it is that you need, binders or anything for your new school year. This makes it exciting for the kids, but it also makes it exciting for the mom. The sixth thing I want you to think about is, what kind of homeschool schedule are you doing? It maybe you should have probably already decided this, but will you homeschool throughout the summer? Will you do 3 months on, 1 month off? There's so many different ways to homeschool, and that's completely up to you. Maybe you thought that you were going to take off the whole summer, send your kids to camp, but now the camps are all closed and that's no longer an option, and maybe you're deciding now that we're just going to homeschool through the summer. So that's totally up to you, and I'm going to link a video up here that talks about the most common types of homeschooling schedules. You can check those out. Sometimes having a guideline makes you feel a lot better and more organized. This next tip is my favorite, and that's consider giving your classroom a makeover. Whether you're moving furniture around, painting the room, getting new furniture, making it new for the next homeschool year, it's exciting for you and for the kids because it makes it fresh. It's like starting over, a whole new year. Like when your kids go to school, they go to a new classroom the next grade and everything's brand new. So now when you're home, I think rearranging furniture, painting, or like getting new furniture, a couple of new things, makes it exciting to start the new school year refreshed. I also think it's a really good idea that if you are going to homeschool year-round, that you do take at least a month off to do nothing and just let the kids have a month of downtime, and you have a month of downtime before you continue on with your learning. The last thing that you can do to prepare for the next school year and end this school year successfully is print out a homemade certificate of completion for your child that they can put into their portfolios. It makes them excited because they get to see, like, I did it, I finished this grade, I finished this year. They feel accomplished, and it's not like school's just like never ending. You want to have I feel like you want to have a stop point because it makes them have that sense of accomplishment, and giving them some sort of certificate just solidifies that. So these are my tips to help you guys wrap up your homeschool year and prepare for the next one. I hope you found it useful. I'm going to be posting videos very soon on what I'm using for my 4th grade homeschool curriculum as well as my kindergarten homeschool curriculum. So make sure you guys continue to watch, subscribe for more, and check out my playlist. I have a lot of curriculum reviews and homeschooling day in the lives. And that is all. Thank you guys, and we'll see you next time.